You're watching the show that puts Spartan news in focus. This is Focal Point.
Hi, I'm Kayla Roney, and tonight on Focal Point, I'm going to explain why some MSU students are using hoodies like these to make a political statement.
I'm Lucy Guo. Tonight on Focal Point, I'll tell you some details of the reconstruction of Lansing School District.
I'm Emmanuel Berry for Focal Point, and coming up, I'll tell you about ASMSU's upcoming elections.
Focal Point starts now.
I'm Yanjie Wang.
And I'm Victoria Marzak. Welcome to Focal Point.
National outcry over the shooting of Florida teen Trayvon Martin by a neighborhood watch volunteer has reached the MSU and Lansing communities.
Kayla Roney talked to students who took their message to the streets.
MSU students marched from the Rock to the Union, donned in hoodies like the one worn by 17-year-old Trayvon Martin when George Zimmerman shot him last month.
That could have happened to our little brother or our cousin or us, understanding the social context that exists in the society.
The story has provoked outrage throughout the country. But when senseless killings happen so often, what makes this case different?
Nothing. It's just a good, interesting set of facts for them.
MSU journalism professor Jane Briggs Bunting says that the photos often shown of both men in this case sensationalize the story.
It looks like a David and Goliath type situation. The security guard who looks a little beefy in his pictures, and the innocent young kid who looks innocent and young in his pictures.
Black Student Alliance President Mario Lemons disagrees, however, saying this case is more than just about violence. It's about the perceived lack of justice.
These people who have done this black-on-black crime, they're in jail. There's no question about it, right? Or they're seeking, to put those people away and find them wherever they are. And that's the reality, right? We understand that that's the difference. For George Zimmerman, he's still walking the streets.
And he says that this is why it is hitting African-American communities so hard. Zimmerman is the son of a white father and Hispanic mother. And some believe that Zimmerman would have been arrested by now if race weren't an issue.
This is something that is not a phenomenon, right? This is things that happen, and it's really some of the biggest fears for communities of color, that we will be targeted.
One thing Briggs, Bunting, and Lemons do agree on, however, is the importance of leaving justice to the legal system.
What's a self-defense or not, I don't know, but it's up to a court and a jury to make that determination, not the media.
Briggs Bunting says there is little doubt that the 24/7 news cycle is partially to blame for the hyper-coverage of local issues, while Lemons feels the extensive coverage does help bring communities together in the wake of tragedy. For Focal Point, I'm Kayla Roney.
Zimmerman has not been charged with a crime in the case, in part because of Florida's Stand Your Ground law, which grants immunity to anyone who uses deadly force with a reasonable claim of self-defense.
A strange call to 911 Thursday night is leaving police with unanswered questions. Police were called to the intersection of Hacknell and Grand River around midnight Thursday night to remove a 2001 Buick vehicle from the Red Cedar River. While the car was almost submerged, the driver of the vehicle was nowhere to be found. However, the passenger window was rolled down. Several dogs searched the area, but didn't find anyone. Captain Kim Johnson says the car remains in police custody and investigators are still searching for answers.
That the owner of the car was not the driver of the car. From our standpoint, the main thing is trying to find the driver and any other people who may have been in that vehicle and making sure that they're safe.
Police say that a dive team will be searching the water soon. A high school student's weekend campus visit ended with her in the hospital. Focal Point's Jill Silverstein talked to a witness.
Don't move, don't move.
Those are the words that woke MSU freshman Emily Rice early Sunday morning.
She looked pretty injured, but I was watching, they got her, the ambulance came, put her on a backboard and took her away.
Right outside of this window, 18-year-old Ann Arbor resident Alexandra Pugh was taken to Sparrow Hospital after falling from a 6th-floor window at Case Hall.
I heard they were playing a game of catch or something. There's these ledges in the study lounge. She must have caught the ball or something and fell back.
Patrol Sergeant Andrea Biesinger says Pugh landed on her back and sustained many injuries.
I spoke with her mom briefly that day, but she was still in surgery, so they couldn't give any information. They still didn't know.
Rice says that Pugh was not intoxicated.
They tested her for drugs and alcohol, and she was clean.
So was this a freak accident, or was the window not secure?
I don't think that they're hard glass, but I think that it takes a lot to break them.
Police say that an investigation is underway, but Pugh is expected to be able to walk again. For Focal Point, this is Jill Silberstein.
Campus Living Services has started checking windows to ensure student safety.
Increasing the security on your computer may help reduce the risk of identity theft. According to a recent survey led by a Michigan State criminologist, 15% of people who participated in the study had their identity stolen in the past year. Most of these were men. Those who download illegal files are also at higher risk. A mix of antivirus, anti-spyware, and anti-adware software lowers the chance your credit card information is being stolen by 50%. Antivirus software removes worms that can damage files, while anti-adware and anti-spyware protect your computer before viruses are found. Union members are striking against the Red Cross for the third time in 2 years. Amber Johnson-Weeks has more on what they're demanding.
These union members didn't go to work this morning because they want. A union official with the Teamsters, Al Mixon, is using his big stature and big voice to rally the crowd against the Red Cross for contracts that will include better health care benefits.
But the people that provide those services are these workers here. They can't afford to feed their families. They can't afford to get sick themselves.
They're also demanding better working conditions.
They never get lunches sometimes, they never get breaks. They run the whole process like it's an assembly line.
The union workers say they've done their part and they're ready for the Red Cross to do theirs.
I am an excellent employee. I do my job. I come to work. I follow procedures.
Sophia Edwards says despite her 10 years of service, the Red Cross does not respect her as a worker. The communications manager for the Great Lakes region of the Red Cross says she can't talk about the working conditions, but she can talk about health care benefits.
The Red Cross nationally went to a national health care plan where there are different options. And for 4 years, our union members have rejected that plan.
People have come from Toledo and Cleveland to join with Lansing union members. The Cross's stance is firm.
We can't offer one group of employees a benefits package that we don't offer another group of employees because it's unfair.
Mixon hopes that this strike will end soon with an agreement from both sides. For Focal Point, I'm Amber Johnson-Weeks.
The unions are scheduled to meet with the Red Cross in April, but they're hoping to meet sooner.
The Lansing School Board approved a district reconfiguration plan this past week. The reconstruction avoids closing high school and will bring about other changes to the district.
For more than 10 years, Lansing School District has been working on a reconstruction plan.
And because of the change in the economy in Lansing, the student population has declined dramatically.
Now, things have finally come to an end.
It was remarkable that in such an important decision that they were able to come to an 8-to-1 vote.
Instead of closing one high school, the board decided to shift 7th and 8th grades into the district's 3 high schools. This will lead to the closure of 4 elementary schools. As a teacher at one of these elementary schools and a mother of 3 children, Lisa Long thinks the district has finally made things work this time.
The committee that they had this time, the leadership that they had this time, they were able to take the most positive of what they had and put it in one plan.
Yvonne Kamakanu has replaced the former superintendent and proposed the reconfiguration.
I think compared to the way they had it, I think this will work much better than the way they did have it.
To create a middle school environment within a high school is a broad change for the district. While the true impact of this change is still unknown at this point, some wonderings and worries are ongoing now.
If we're bringing 7th and 8th graders to the school, we have to come up with a way to make sure that those students are safe.
As a member of the board, Charis Ford thinks more steps must be taken to reach a better educational environment, while teachers, students, and families will be influenced in the near future. For Focal Point, I'm Lucy Guo.
Eastern and Sexton High School will be converted to 7th to 12th grade campuses in the next school year. Everett will do the same thing in the 2014 and 2015 school year. Throughout the last 2 weeks, the Michigan Higher Education Subcommittees have been hearing testimony from university presidents as they fight for equity in funding. Focal Point's Anthony Sabella shows us how both sides are presenting their case.
gave you that water, so just...
The testimonies, given in the House Appropriations Room at the Capitol, have centered around concerns that Governor Rick Snyder's higher education budget and funding formula will penalize schools more than help them.
In Michigan, we've come through a decade of economic turmoil, and we've managed to do that while not only preserving our reputation at Michigan State, but enhancing it.
Governor Snyder's proposal would create a pot of money for all 15 of the state's public universities. It would be distributed based on metrics like increasing undergraduate degrees and keeping tuition hikes to 4% or less.
To be meaningful, the metrics must be standardized across the country, they need to be accessible, and they need to be reliable.
MSU President Luana K. Simon says this formula is a problem for the state's larger universities like Michigan, MSU, and Wayne State, who compete nationally as well as in-state.
A survey last year of 100 corporate CEOs around the world asked where they find their talent. What came out of that was a list of top 150 world recruiting grounds. The only public Big Ten university that made the top 40 was Michigan State.
The subcommittee has their own concerns with universities keeping education affordable, especially after both MSU and Wayne State reportedly found a loophole to increase tuition by 7.1% last year.
I believe that tuition is almost criminal.
I think it's just right. My parents probably would have a different opinion about it.
I feel like it should be more of a regulation on tuition increases because it just makes it harder for students to finish.
And if students don't finish, under Governor Snyder's current plan, that school will receive less funding. Meantime, the committee will soon make recommendations based on the testimony with hopes of a compromise that will satisfy both the governor and the universities. For Focal Point, I'm Anthony Sabella.
Friday morning, House Republicans recommended cuts that would strip state aid for both Michigan State and the University of Michigan over disagreements on social issues like mandatory student health insurance and the stem cell research.
Pure Michigan is teaming up with Coca-Cola to create new advertising for Michigan tourism. Delivery trucks, vending machines, and in-store signs will carry pictures of Michigan landmarks. Coca-Cola is covering all costs of the advertisements. The Pure Michigan campaign was launched in 2006 and is one of the most successful statewide tourism campaigns in the country. Graduation is a celebration of 4 years of hard work, but for one MSU student, walking across the stage means a little bit more.
And free speech may be harder to hear on campus. These stories and more coming up after the break.
They've been called leaders, lifesavers, and world changers. They're also called Spartans.
Welcome back. ASMSU elections are right around the corner.
And MSU students tackle oppression. Jill Silverstein shows us how with these stories and more this week on campus. Jill?
Thanks, Yancia. ASMSU is holding their annual student representatives election next week, and many students don't vote. Focal Point's Emmanuel Berry looks at what they are doing to boost voting turnout.
ASMSU representatives act as a voice for more than 40,000 students, and with elections less than a week away, you won't find any smear campaigns on campus. In fact, it's hard to find a campaign at all, or even someone who knows about the election.
I don't know anything about the elections, I'm sorry.
Yeah, is it like president and stuff like that, or?
Yeah. I don't know anything about it. I haven't really heard anything.
This is not surprising. In the past, voter turnout has been as low as 1.4% of the student population. ASMSU Chief of Staff Eric Banoff says this is because people think ASMSU does not do anything for them.
Most likely a student's part of an RSO, most likely they might be part of a Corps or Cops group. We give hundreds of thousands of dollars each year to those groups, so directly they are being affected.
This year, ASMSU is making an effort to bring more students to polls, hoping for a 10% turnout.
We're utilizing a lot with Facebook and Twitter. We reached out to student groups on campus. MSU Telecasters made us a great elections video.
Voting for students is easy. All they have to do is go online to ASMSU's website, sign in using their NetID and password, and vote.
Having the students own their vote. It's your voice, it's your vote. Take back, hold your representatives accountable and get out there and vote for who you want representing you.
Elections will run April 2nd through 9th. For Focal Point, I'm Emmanuel Berry.
The Huffington Post has named Michigan State to the 12 worst colleges for free speech. The Post criticizes MSU's spamming policy, which is defined as sending more than 10 people the same unsolicited email within 48 hours. Yale, Harvard, and Syracuse also made the list. Graduation is quickly approaching, and seniors across campus are excited for the big day. Focal Point's Victoria Marzek shows us how one student is celebrating the accomplishment.
Ethan Yerkes seems like your typical MSU senior. He has a full schedule and works full-time as the program director for the Impact 89 FM radio station.
Giving away movie tickets to Celebration Cinema.
Like many, he's excited for graduation next month. But to him, it means a little bit more.
I have a reading disability called dysgraphia.
Dysgraphia is a learning disability that impairs a person's reading comprehension and writing abilities.
It goes into my head just fine, and then it's an outputting issue and processing issues.
Dysgraphia is most commonly diagnosed by handwriting.
My handwriting looks like it's like a third grader's because my brain just can't make my hand make the movements of a pencil.
His learning disability has been a real challenge as he made his way through school.
The only thing that he ever asks me help for is when he needs me to like edit his papers or proofread them and stuff like that. And so I do that for him because he's a good guy.
So with all of his struggles, Ethan plans to make his graduation memorable.
So after 6 years of college, Ethan is ready to cross the graduation stage, grab his diploma, and hoist one of these.
Ethan is raising money to purchase a replica WWE belt to show off as he crosses the graduation stage to symbolize reaching his ultimate goal.
As a child, this was the specific belt that was the most coveted prize in wrestling. You know, like to these people that I looked up to as pseudo-fictional / real people, this was what they woke up every day and tried to achieve. And I think for me, this diploma, this graduation is what I've woke up every day for the last 20 years or whatever, working for to try to achieve.
Any additional funds Ethan raises will be donated to his friend Jill, who will be helping underprivileged youth this summer in Detroit.
He's just so excited that he is able to overcome his reading disability and just graduate, and he just wants to celebrate that in the best way he knows, and that's wrestling.
Ethan is also grateful for the help from his friends and family and hopes he can encourage others who struggle.
You shouldn't let mental illness or mental disability or physical disability hold you back, and if anyone says you can't do something, then they're wrong.
Ethan is well on his way to reaching his goal, both with the belt and with his future. For Focal Point, I'm Victoria Marzek.
So far, Ethan has almost reached his goal of raising $300 for his belt. He plans to raise an additional $200 to help Jill this summer. An MSU professor is making his debut as a Huffington Post contributor. Carl Good, who formerly worked at Newsweek magazine and the Associated Press, will write about journalism, social media, and design through the eyes of an educator. His first post dealt with university students' need for passion and skill in their field. He says he looks forward to this new communication outlet.
I have ideas that I want to get out to a broader audience. I want to corrupt people with my ideas, and they have a need for content. So as far as I'm concerned, that's a perfect barter system.
That's all for On Campus. I'm Jill Silverstein. Now back to you.
Thanks, Jill. Hundreds of students, faculty, and community members came together last week to fill their empty bowls for projects in South Africa and Kenya. After purchasing bowls donated by the Spartan Ceramic Club, guests filled their bowls with soup and pasta provided by local restaurants. This was the second year that Global Youth for Education and Change has put on the Empty Bowls fundraiser for children at the Orphan Care Center in South Africa. The event featured performances by Lansing rapper Filthy, along with poetry, African dance, and songs written by local kids.
The program was definitely a really big success. It was almost standing room only, and that's just exciting to me because all the money we raise, 100% of it is going to the kids.
Coming up next, an MSU hockey player makes it to the big leagues.
And from new hits to Broadway classics, we'll take a look at the newest shows coming to the Wharton Center.
They've been called leaders, lifesavers, and world changers. They're also called Spartans.
Welcome back to Focal Point. I'm Kayla Roney with this week's Sports Report. The Lansing Sexton boys basketball team won its second straight state title last weekend. After defeating Detroit Country Day in the semifinals, the Big Reds took down the Stevensville Lakeshore Lancers 67-32 in front of nearly 8,500 people at the Breslin Center. It capped off a successful 27-1 season for Sexton. Future Spartan Denzel Valentine finished with 15 points, 11 rebounds, and 7 assists.
By Michigan State, Coach Izzo said, I'm not going to offer you because you can't shoot it. You can do everything else but you. So Denzel, right after we got done, he went to the gym and he shot 500 shots on the gun. Went out in the AAU circuit, blew it out. And that's the kind of guy Denzel is. He's going to do the extra. I'm proud of my son, man. I'm really proud of him.
Valentine runs out a strong Spartan basketball recruiting class, which also includes Michigan Mr. Basketball winner Matt Costello of Bay City, Indiana Mr. Basketball and McDonald's All-American Gary Harris, and Ohio native Kenny Kaminsky. Spartan hockey standout Torrey Krug has been signed by the Boston Bruins. The CCHA Player of the Year has decided to forego his senior season with the Spartans to play in the NHL. Krug will report to the Bruins on Monday and will be eligible to play through the remaining regular season games. He will not be eligible for the playoffs. The Bruins won the Stanley Cup in 2011. The Spartan football team hit the field to kick off spring practices this past week. Junior Andrew Maxwell will have the tough task of taking over the quarterback position. Head coach Mark D'Antonio says this group has the strongest offensive line of his tenure at Michigan State. As far as the players go, they're just ready to get back on the field.
I think it's just about getting the team together, getting back together, the new guys that are in, the old guys that are out, and kind of finding the chemistry of this team.
We had a pretty good day first spring. I mean, knocking off the cobwebs and stuff, but we've been working hard all winter, and we're ready to get back on the field.
The young guys got to come up. The older guys got to, show the role, show the example to these guys, and bring on as much competition. I'm going to take it as much competition as the young guys can give me. It's just how it works every year. It's just about establishing that that leadership role, continued on from what it was already like last year, and just building on that, as a player and then also as a team.
The first chance for the public to get a look at the team is at the annual spring game. The game takes place in Spartan Stadium on April 30th at 1:30 p.m. That's all for sports. I'm Kayla Roney.
The Canadian government has decided to stop production of the penny. The Canadian penny now costs 1.6 cents to produce, and the Canadian government has decided to stop production in an effort to cut costs. This same concept has been suggested by President Obama, as the U.S. penny costs 2.4 cents to make. The White House has proposed ideas to make production of pennies and nickels cheaper in order to decrease the federal deficit. From Memphis, Tennessee to Paris, France, the Wharton Center brings Broadway blockbusters to East Lansing.
And the RCAH celebrates Women's History Month. Amber Johnson-Wicks has these stories and more in this week's Arts and Entertainment segment. Amber.
Thanks, Cynthia. This week, a musical is bringing the soul of the South to Michigan. The 2010 Tony Award-winning musical Memphis made its debut at Wharton Center this week. Memphis takes place in the clubs of the segregated South, where a white DJ falls for a rock and roll and black songstress. Wharton Center Public Relations Manager Bob Hoffman is excited to share this new show with local audiences.
That hits you in the gut and captures your soul, and you feel differently when you leave, then Memphis is the show for you.
Memphis will run at Wharton Center through this Sunday. It started out as a homework assignment in a poetry course, and 3 students turned it into a show performed Thursday night. Inside Outside, 4 Voices, 8 Stories, Incredible Women was organized to celebrate Women's History Month. The RCAH students wrote and performed monologues. The Center for Poetry put on the event free of charge, though they accepted donations for the Women's Center of Greater Lansing.
Saw that there's a lot of common themes about women and sort of the voices that are not heard and women's voices that are not represented. So then we...
The event was the first of its kind, and the Poetry Center hopes to host more throughout the year. That's all for Arts and Entertainment. I'm Amber Johnson-Weeks.
Thanks, Amber. People are lined up to buy tickets for the Mega Million jackpot. Will someone be lucky enough to become a millionaire overnight? What would you do with the money?
One copy of your receipt? Yes, please.
Sean is just one of many lottery hopefuls who has his eyes on the Mega Millions prize.
This is my first ticket.
$1 can win at least $540 million.
Winning ticket?
The largest ever lottery jackpot is drawing attention across the country.
At least 30 plus people a day the last couple days.
The odds to win the entire jackpot are 117 million to 1. People are willing to risk a couple of dollars for the chance to win $540 million.
It's such a big amount that I have, even if it's only a few picks, it's still a chance.
We bought 2 $1 tickets.
But what if luck comes knocking?
I would travel a lot.
Go back on vacation immediately.
Like boats and cars and houses and everything.
Here's to hoping Sean realizes his dreams. The jackpot will be more than $600 million if there's still no winner. That's all for our show tonight.
We leave you now with more from the musical Memphis. Good night.
Have a good night.
Comes a point when a man has had enough, like a friend who always stands by me. Yeah.